Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including the latest versions of Tesla's vehicles spotted out in the wild, Tesla's head of robotics departing the company, more software features arriving, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, when Tesla releases a software update, they give us release notes for that update so every customer knows what features they're getting. However, there are usually some undocumented changes that come along with these updates, and we're now getting those details for software version 2025.14. First here is an update for the heated steering wheel, which will now auto-activate based solely on cabin temperature, even if the HVAC system itself is set to manual. For Apple Music, you can now shuffle a full playlist instead of just the first 100 songs of that playlist, and proper song and artist metadata will display for curated stations. Then they've added newer Apple Music stations as well. There are some updates for full language options in the Cybertruck, and then Sentry Mode will auto-resume when plugged in if it was previously turned off due to the battery dropping below 20%. This is something that happens automatically, but if you then plug into a charger, it would not actually reactivate after 20% when it's charging up. So now once you get back over 20%, it will resume Sentry Mode, which is great. Lane departure avoidance and lane assist are now part of the FSD architecture on the Cybertruck with a new blue lane visualization, and the dashcam viewer has a UI upgrade that's coming across the board. You see that 4-camera grid view, and there's a new replay button which does plus or minus 15 seconds, and next clip jump along with the camera selection bar being repositioned in this interface. Overall, they're just doing some great improvements to the UI, and then for their latest cars, they've added 2 other cameras that are a part of this view as a whole. For hardware 4 vehicles, the repeater feeds are labeled and moved to the top, and the rear camera field of view is widened as well, with switchable frames in the latest version of software. It also appears that when you have your blind spot camera up on screen and then you open the other cameras, all of them will stay on the screen at once, instead of that blind spot view being replaced by the same view over on the right side. It's nice to see because it would previously kind of jump around, but now it's going to stay put and then add more views into your field of view, even though it's doubling that view. For markets that display kilometers per hour, it's now lowercase instead of uppercase, which is actually correct. And then the Sentry Mode menu has been streamlined for a one-tap mode for a single session of Sentry Mode. Then Service Mode has added a bunch of other things. So overall, there are a lot of improvements in this latest version of Tesla software that is rolling out to all customers. Some of these we knew about and others we didn't, so it's great to see all of these details on what we're seeing here. And there may even be more that we haven't actually discovered yet. Next up today, we have a few products that should be released from Tesla quite soon, and we're starting to get previews of what these will be. First up here, now that the Model Y refresh has officially launched, there are a few options that this car previously had that are no longer available and we still expect Tesla to release. In order to catch up to that previous generation vehicle, to have all the trims available that were previously available before Tesla introduces something new, there are 2 options we're waiting to see here, and the first is the 7-seater Model Y. Now those 6 and 7 seats are very small in a third row for the Model Y, and they tend to only really work comfortably for children. But this is an option that Tesla offered before, and it was popular amongst certain people. Tesla hasn't really indicated that this is coming back until now via a marketing email. The subject of this email is Model Y midsize SUV, and then they say of this Model Y that it's ready for anything with long range, seating for up to 7, and enough room for everyone's gear. In the past, the wait for the 7-seater was kind of long from Tesla, but Tesla is in a different situation right now and really needs to drive sales. We would expect that this option probably would sit on the back burner in the past, but now they want every option available so that people will buy this car in the options that they really want. Now, Tesla has been known to send out some marketing emails like this that maybe are just resending an old email, so that is a possibility, but this seems to hint, especially since this car has been out for over 3 months at this point, that this could be coming quite soon here. It's also a very simple option for Tesla to ship, and they already have those powered second row seats, so it will probably be even easier than it used to be on the old Model Y, which didn't have second row seats that moved quite in the same way. There will probably still be some differences there, since the second row needs to scoot forward for passengers to get to that third row, but it may be simpler than it used to be. In any case, Tesla is talking about it, so this option could be coming soon, along with the second, which was spotted out in the wild this week, the Performance Model Y. For the Model 3 refresh, Tesla delayed the launch of the performance version, and they did this on purpose because that performance version actually brought a number of changes. It brought different seats, different wheels and brakes, carbon fiber accents inside, a different front bumper, a different rear diffuser, and then of course the increased performance that car brought, which was not only an increase over the other options available for that car, but an improvement over the previous performance Model 3. Now the Model Y performance is expected to do some of the same, and it was spotted out testing at the Nurburgring track. This one is camo wrapped, and from what we can tell, it does share the exact same body as the other trims of this car. In the rear, it does have a spoiler, but it doesn't seem to have a different bumper or a different diffuser. You can also see in this video, when you look close enough, that this does appear to have updated performance seats. These are the same seats that are in the Model 3 performance, and of course that makes a ton of sense. This then has performance brakes and red brake calipers, but these appear to be stock wheels. Most likely that's just Tesla testing with these first instead of testing with 21s like will probably come standard and did on the past performance versions of this car. Overall, in all of these videos, the performance Model Y does appear to be performing pretty well on the track, but of course it's always going fast, so it is really hard to tell if they're testing with other wheels. And other times we do see pieces of tape on the liftgate, so they could be out there with different versions of this car, or it could be simply one that they have been iterating on. So it's possible that they are testing different wheels at the same time, but we just can't get a good enough look since it's always driving very fast on the track. Ultimately though, this will probably be the final trim that Tesla announces for this car before we see something cheaper or newer. This catches it back up to the Model Y that was available last year, but hopefully does improve on it. Rumors are expecting that this car will be able to get a 3.2 second 0 to 60. When you look at the Model 3 performance, that went from a 3.2 second 0 to 60 down to 2.9. So maybe they can do similar with the Model Y performance, taking it from 3.5 seconds down to 3.2 seconds. Now, the performance version of the Model Y would be the last trim that Tesla has yet to announce for this car. But one trim they've announced but have not delivered is the rear-wheel drive trim, and it seems deliveries could be starting very soon. Joe Techmeyer got some footage over at Giga Texas of the rear-wheel drive long-range Model Y. At the same time, it also appears that the Cybertruck rear-wheel drive is entering production as well. When looking at these Model Ys though, we can tell that it's the rear-wheel drive version because it does not have any badge in the rear. At this stage in production, they would always have the dual motor badge if they were dual motor. So these are definitely rear-wheel drive versions of this car, which is great to see, and they're being loaded onto carriers, which means that they're gearing up for delivery. First, they may be delivering them to Tesla service centers for display models or for demo drives, but then customer deliveries should be happening very shortly here. Overall, this is great to see since this is a great car with the best range Tesla has ever shipped on the Model Y, and it's the cheapest available Model Y, at least for now. As we've talked about many times on this channel, we're expecting some stripped back, cheaper versions of the Model Y to come soon enough. Those will be Tesla's cheaper vehicles that they have talked about for some time, but we don't know exactly what those will look like or how cheap they will get. Soon enough though, the Model Y should be back in line with what Tesla shipped last year. You'll have the cheapest rear-wheel drive long-range version, then the long-range all-wheel drive, and then performance above that. And in certain trims of this, usually not the performance trim, but every other trim, you should be able to get 7 seats as well. Now, from the same people who spotted that Model Y performance out on the Nurburgring, they also spotted another product from Tesla this week, the updated, refreshed version of the Model S Plaid. This would be the 2026 Model S Plaid, and it's camo wrapped on the front and the rear because there are some changes there. From what we can tell, this does have new updated wheels, and then the front and rear are updated but only slightly. Right here, if we zoom in, we can tell that there are slight differences in the front bumper to make it sportier and a bit more aggressive, but overall it's still very much a Model S bumper. It doesn't stick out too much from previous years. I think Tesla really just likes keeping this fairly similar to its original design, especially since they don't feel they have to do something stark, since they sell so many fewer units than they do of the Model 3 and Y. As for this Model S refresh, it appears that those changes that we're seeing on the Plaid model are going to be exclusive to the Plaid model to make it stand out, kind of like what they've done with the Model 3 performance. In any case, a normal Model S has been spotted in its refresh form for 2026 in the wild, and this has brand new 19-inch wheels with aero covers, this new blue paint color that we've now seen a couple times, and a front bumper camera. From what we can tell, not much else is changed on the exterior, so they're really just going with the same design and giving it, quote, a little bit of love, like Lars Moravi talked about. I think a lot of people were hoping for a lot of bit of love, but Tesla is only really making little changes here. Then, of course, the other two changes we're expecting here are a front bumper camera, which has been spotted at other locations on the Model S. Here we haven't really gotten a good look at that front bumper since it's driving quickly, but then also an LED strip inside the interior. This puts it in line with every other car that Tesla ships, assuming the Model X also gets that feature. When Tesla makes a cosmetic change to their cars, they always do improve aerodynamics as well, so I imagine that this front bumper on the Model S Plaid will improve aerodynamics and performance for these cars in certain ways. But I'm very curious to see if they really do improve the performance of the Model S Plaid and its motors, or if they keep it the same. The Model S has been beat by other production electric cars, so maybe Tesla will finally come around and decide that they want to take back that prize as the quickest accelerating production vehicle. In any case, we should see these products get released from Tesla quite soon here, since they're out testing them with prototypes, and even some of them are already in production. Next up today, when it comes to the future of Tesla, Elon Musk has been very clear that robotics and the Optimus robot are really where they're headed. He's even said that nothing else matters for the future besides this robot, and that's even as they are still yet to prove to us that they can achieve robotaxis. In any case, the executive in charge of this Optimus program has now left Tesla. Milan Kovac was the VP and head of engineering for the Optimus humanoid robot division, and he has resigned to spend more time with his family abroad, and he says it's entirely a personal decision. He emphasized his continued support for Elon Musk and the Tesla team, saying that his exit won't change a thing. In his official post, he said, quote, "Over the past 9+ years, I've had the immense privilege to work with some of the most brilliant minds in AI and engineering. I've built friendships that will last a lifetime. This week, I've had to make the most difficult decision of my life and will be moving out of my position. I've been far away from home for too long and will need to spend more time with family abroad. I want to make it clear that this is the only reason and has absolutely nothing to do with anything else." I think any time at this point that an executive leaves Tesla, many people assume or worry that it has to do with Elon Musk and his general approval rating across the world. So here he's being very clear that this was not a part of his decision. He joined back in 2016 at Tesla, helped lead the autopilot team, and later built the Optimus robot team from scratch. So this is a big loss for Tesla as a whole and the Optimus program as a whole, since he really built this whole thing up. Overall, though, he still says Tesla will win. In response to this, Elon Musk publicly thanked him for his decade of contributions, saying, "Milan, thank you for your outstanding contribution to Tesla over the past decade. It was an honor working with you. Enjoy the time with family." Overall, this probably makes sense for his situation, but it does come at a critical time for Tesla, where they're planning to have about 5,000 of these by the end of 2025. Now, plenty of people doubt that, and I wouldn't be surprised if that gets delayed, but then they're further planning to be scaling to 50,000 or so in 2026. Reportedly, his successor will be Tesla's head of the autopilot team, Ashok Elazwamy. But of course, this adds on to a lot of recent executive departures at Tesla in the last few years. In 2022, Andrej Karpathy left Tesla after 5 years leading the Tesla autopilot team, and that seemed to come at a time when this robotaxi was really coming into view. In 2023, Zachary Kirkhorn, Tesla's then CFO, left the company after 13 years, and then in 2024, we saw 3 pretty big departures from Tesla. First was Rebecca Tanucci, senior director of Tesla's supercharger network, who was let go during layoffs there, and at the time, this was seen as a very big deal, since the supercharger network was one of their biggest advantages, and we were worried this was going to mean it would not grow anymore. So far, things have played out such that it seems the supercharger network is continuing to expand well and continuing to be reliable. But another layoff in 2024 was Rohan Patel, Tesla's VP of Public Policy and Business Development. Then one of the biggest departures here was Drew Baglino. After 18 years with Tesla, he oversaw motors, batteries, and energy systems, and then finally left the company. He was someone we got used to seeing talk at Tesla's investor events or their 2020 Battery Day about these long, big future plans for these things and these technologies that will really transform how they can make cheaper vehicles in the future. So, of course, that was a big departure. And then in 2025 came another, David Lau, who was Tesla's VP of Software Engineering. He left after 13 years leading their vehicle, cloud, and manufacturing software platforms, which of course was a big deal since all of Tesla's products are so software-based. These are just some of the biggest ones among other executive departures over at Tesla, and it's definitely an interesting time for the company that really feels like they're starting at a new baseline. They have now refreshed their main cars to really be in line with other cars in their price range. They feel very premium when you get inside them with the materials and the features and everything involved with these cars, especially in the latest Model 3 and Y. So now that they have this solid lineup that's really difficult to argue with when it comes to things like build quality that used to be somewhat reasonable arguments in the past. They are moving into the future. Next will be some cheaper versions of these cars, seemingly some stripped back versions of the modern versions that we're seeing of the Model 3 and Y, and hopefully those can come down in price and expand their market as a whole, and they can keep scaling up production. But then comes the Robotaxi, and this really starts the next era for Tesla. If they can achieve the Robotaxi, which first would be converting their own cars like the Model Y into the Robotaxi, and then would be launching that dedicated Robotaxi, that will start a whole new era for this company of automated rideshare. Then beyond that is their humanoid robot with Optimus, and a lot of big investors and people who are looking into the future of this company see these things as really where this company is going for the future, even though they make electric cars for the time being, and that's their primary business. So maybe they really do have this solid baseline of these products that took all of these executives all of this time to get to, and so this new era makes sense with a lot of new people. But what are your thoughts? Do these executive departures make sense for Tesla's future vision as a whole, or is it a bad sign for the company? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Last up today, some updates from other automakers. When it comes to a 3-row electric SUV, there are now growing options out there on the market, and one of the best options is the Kia EV9. But Kia's sister company, Hyundai, is also working on the Ioniq 9 that should be releasing fairly soon. This is essentially the Hyundai version of the EV9 since it's built on the same platform, and the rear-wheel drive S-Trim offers up to 335 miles of range. All-wheel drive versions are 320-mile ranges, and performance models are 311-mile ranges, with the top price coming in at $76,490. As we look into the future here, we're now starting to see all future EVs getting built with NACS ports in the United States, and the Ioniq 9 is no exception. It comes with an NACS port standard, which means it's built for supercharger access. Included with it is also an adapter for CCS fast chargers and level 2 home chargers, which refers to J1772 connectors, I would assume. This car will be built in Georgia for local assembly, which makes it qualify for the $7,500 federal EV tax credit, which will at least be in place for the rest of the year. It still has not officially passed that this EV tax credit is canceled, but if it does get canceled, which seems likely, it will disappear come 2026. For the meantime, though, the Ioniq 9 should qualify, and it really is a solid 3-row SUV option. It's also a space that Tesla doesn't really compete in because they don't have a great 3-row option with a lot of space in a price range that's lower than the Model X. So I'm curious to see if we do see something larger come from Tesla, and there have been plenty of rumors of a larger wheelbase 3-row version of the Model Y, first coming out of China, but maybe also coming to the United States later this year. I'll be sure to keep you posted. Now over at Cadillac, they are owned by, of course, GM, and they're making some pretty solid EVs as well, and their new Optiq EV has been announced for 2026. This is a new entry-level sports EV for Cadillac, and will be the first factory-installed NACS port on a GM vehicle. So here, there's no need for an adapter. The Optiq offers seamless access to Tesla superchargers. As for the trims of the Optiq, first is the luxury one at $54,390 with a 302-mile range. Then up from there, all other trims are a 302-mile range until you get to the Optiq V model. The Optiq V is specifically the sportiest model with performance specs. Dual motor producing 519 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 in as little as 3.5 seconds in their Velocity Max mode. This has an estimated 275 miles of range, with about 70 miles added in around 10 minutes at a fast charger. There are a lot of premium features and options here, like a carbon fiber body kit, some special alloy wheels, adaptive suspension, and more. And that top model will start at $68,795, and that includes destination fees. One very interesting thing to note here is that this is among the first GM cars to not include support for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So that is a big shift that we're starting to see from more and more companies, not just Tesla and Rivian. This car is launching in fall of 2025 in the US, Mexico, Canada, Middle East, and Israel. As always, I love seeing great competitive EVs, and yes, this is more expensive than something like the Model Y, but it does deliver a lot in its great package from Cadillac. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see the latest details on the longest lasting Teslas with some over 300,000 miles, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.